Wake up. Wake up. I know. The Seahawks are Super Bowl champions. Oof.
I mean, it's not just that, Larry. It's not that they're Super Bowl champions, but that is their cigar smoke that will be stinging in that locker room forever. It was their confetti blown all over Levi's Stadium and the 49ers field. And that definitely left a bad taste in 49ers fans' mouths. Otherwise, the game, had that been a Monday or Thursday night game, we'd be talking. If that game had been played on a Thursday night, people would have been like, this is why you shouldn't play games on Thursday night. You need better rest and better matchups. Like, that was a bad to watch football game for the general public. I like defense. I enjoyed it. But that was a bad to watch game for the general public. And yeah, what can I tell you? Defense wins championships. And there was a whole bunch of defense on that field last night and enough offense for Seattle to get it done. The Patriots didn't do anything to even suggest they could move the ball until garbage time. So we got quite a bit to talk about. Welcome, everybody. Welcome to Wake Up. He's Larry. I'm Damon. It's great to have you here. And it's official. I already miss football, Larry. It's going to be a long time since we're at another game. It's going to be a long time. As a matter of fact, today is the longest we will be away from whatever next real football game we are talking about, getting ready to cover, doing a wake up for. So goodbye, football season. I already miss you.
Well, we don't go anywhere on this side. We'll just keep grinding. We'll keep grinding Niners all the way through. So if you're one of those people that, man, you're not into the Warriors and you think they're a fucking bore, if you're not into Giants baseball and you can't watch it and you're just a Niner guy, just know that at least on the Krug Show, we will have daily videos, daily breakdown. We'll have Niners Nightly every night on KMBR. We will get you through this offseason day by day, starting right now, of course, but starting tonight on KMBR. But yes, what can you say? I think you learn more from falling short sometimes than you learn even when you win. And you got to give John Schneider his credit. You got to give Seattle their credit. I mean, we talk about, people always talk about, especially people who don't know shit, always talk about, the draft's a crapshoot. It's just, it means nothing. You guys get all excited about it. It means nothing. Go ahead, minimize it all you want. But the reality is that the 49ers have absolutely gotten their ass kicked in the draft in 3 of the last 4 years, taking home a singular player in a couple of those years. 1 year it was Demo Venor. 1 year it was Brock Purdy. You have to have more than a singular player in a draft class or you get your ass kicked. And that's what happened. John Schneider has been drafting really, really well. John Lynch and Kyle Shanahan, or whoever you want to say, the 49ers as a group, whatever way you want to group this or blame this or whatever, shape this, their group project sucks and they're not getting it done. And it's just as simple as that. We can sit there and play all kinds of games about, it's this and it's that and it's that. It's none of those things. It's not about Brock Purdy and his limitations. There's going to be people today talking about Brock Purdy's limitations compared to Sam Darnold. There's going to be people today talking about Kyle Shanahan's limitations compared to Mike McDonald. And none of that is relevant. The only thing that's really relevant is that the 49er group project, as they like to call it, for their personnel department, is getting their what's handed to them by John Schneider. And he's drafted, while you weren't looking, Niners, they drafted both bookend tackles, premier sets of corners, created a whole nother D line, and the Rams did have as well. While the Niners weren't looking, Aaron Donald retired, and the Rams brought in Verse and Fisk and Young.
They got better defensively. They got better defensively when Aaron Donald retired. So
they rebuilt their D-line, and the 49ers are still looking at a team whose best players outside of Purdy and Stout are all north of 30. So the
Here's the
Niners
deal.
are old and they need to be rebuilt. And I don't know that they have the people in the building to rebuild.
Look, the draft is a crapshoot, but you got to have somebody who knows how to play craps at the table. You know what I mean? It is. You can have the best intentions and a really good game plan, and for whatever reason, this guy doesn't work out, because that's what the NFL does. It chews up really good football players and spits them out all the time. The problem is that the 49ers are constantly just walking up to the craps table and putting way too much of a bet on a hard eight. They're not being smart about playing the come line or the pass line. They're not responsible gamblers. And yeah, they hit a couple of dice rolls late in the craps game, which keeps them in the casino, and it really does. They have hit late, but you can't be making high leverage plays for low leverage impact. Still, again, drafting a kicker, the hubris that makes you draft a kicker, anything, Larry, then O-line or D-line in the first round is basically malpractice from a team. I'm going to tell you right now, if this team is leaning wide receiver or tight end, shame on them when the pick comes around to them. This is trench warfare. What you saw reach the Super Bowl was trench warfare. It's the exact same thing that happened last year. It's the exact same thing that's going to happen next year, because there are some football truths that will never not be the center of the board of truth. And here it is. Line of scrimmage, blocking and tackling. That's all that matters. Everything else just sells tickets and jerseys. And the 49ers.
I mean, I don't know if I agree. I mean, you the best team had the best receiver.
But he didn't play last night.
Yeah,
he
but
hardly
so
even played last night. And he had 4 catches.
Yeah, but that's just last night. They had the best receiver in football. You can't say they didn't have. You can't say receivers don't matter when the team you're going against has the best receiver in football. And by the way, their running back was the game's MVP and really was the difference in the game.
They matter, Larry. I'm not saying that they don't matter, but the reason why
you got to have a complete
MVP is because he had nice, big, juicy holes to run through. The reason why Christian McCaffrey's yards per carry was so down is because he had to make his own holes. He had slivers of daylight, not big, wide holes of daylight.
Well, I mean, one thing
you got to dominate on the line of scrimmage. Period. If you are not dominating on the line of scrimmage, everything else is masking tape.
I get it. But I mean, you're talking to a fan base that saw Jerry Rice, that saw Roger Craig go to the Hall of Fame, that had Joe Montana. The skill position people matter. They just need better people across the board. Here is a list of the Seahawks unrestricted free agents. And I'm not saying the 49ers should go raid them across the board, but like just taking a look at this list, the Niners could really use Kenneth Walker. The Niners could really use Tariq Woolen. The Niners could really use Boye Mafe. The Niners could really use Rashid Shaheed. The Niners could really use Kobe Bryant. I mean, the Niners could really use Josh Jones. The Niners basically in 1992 and 93, when they were falling short to the Cowboys, they didn't just try to get better. They actually raided the Cowboys for Ken Norton. And I think the Niners ought to consider raiding Seattle for one or two of their guys. But the bottom line is this.
You should raid Seattle for their general manager.
Well, or their owner. I mean, the 49ers spent $51 million in free agency last year. They were 30th in the NFL in free agent spending. The Seahawks spent $200 million. You know, the New England spent like $230 million. And they added a lot of good players. Now, I know the 49ers spent money in other ways, but the Niners this year had $103 million of dead cap. Okay, so those are bad decisions that you're now, have on the books that you're trying to wash away, but they're bad decisions. So you have 100, think about it. This team that you played is younger, faster, has way more cap room, and didn't have $100 million of dead cap. You had $100 million of dead cap and decided, because you had so much in dead cap and so much bad money, that you were going to sit out free agency. So you sat out free agency and they got better. They added Sam Darnold. They added pieces. You didn't. So
you can't draft poorly, draft a whole bunch of players that you redshirt and sit out free agency and not get aggressive in the unsigned free agent market
Right.
The Niners
Too passive.
really did
Too passive.
Yeah, they were passive this offseason, and they did it in the name of austerity, which will allow them to now open the books. Well, guess what? Those purse strings better pop open now, this offseason. It needs to happen. And, I'd like to think that the people involved are smart enough to know that. I would really like to think that.
Well, we'll see. We'll see what direction they go here. But, I mean, this is the other problem is that they say they love their process, the Niners, but their process is not producing results. So you could love your process all day and every day, but if your process is not producing results, then you got to ask, why do you love your process? And should you change your process? I mean, this last draft, I don't think we have hope for, but it's mostly because of our proximity to the draft itself. Because if we could learn anything, it's that the 24 draft looked really good for a while and now doesn't. The 23 draft was an abomination. The 22 draft brought you Purdy, but other than that, it was an abomination. The 21 draft was an absolute Trey Lance-led abomination. I mean, they have not had the last time they've really had a good draft was probably outside of this last year, which was pretty good, was probably 2020, where they started with Kinlaw, then went to Ayuk, Colton McKivitz, Charlie Warner, Juwan Jennings. That's a pretty good draft for 5 players right there. And the year before, you got Bosa and Debo, as well as Greenlaw. So that wasn't too bad in 19, but Bosa kind of picked himself. He was the second pick overall. It's just they had the reality is that the Lance swing and a miss was a colossal burn.
It was devastating.
The Javon Hargrave $20 million cost a ton and gave them nothing. And then the drafts that followed Trey Lance, where you had multiple picks, and they felt good about making the Trey Lance trade because they knew they were going to have multiple picks in that third round. And they went Danny Gray, Ty Davis-Price, Drake Jackson, Jair Brown, Jake Moody, Cam Latu. That's how we got here. That's how we got here. That's it right there. That's 6 picks in the first 3 rounds. And that doesn't even include the Pearsall, Renardo Green, Dom Pooney draft, which looks kind of bad at this juncture. So, I mean, it's like they have missed in the draft. And you can be mad at guys like me for noticing if you want, or you can do something about it. But to do the same thing over and over again as you're not having success while your direct competitor is celebrating a Super Bowl in your stadium with your backup quarterback with a team that was less expensive and younger. I mean, it's like there's nowhere to go.
That to me is the scary thing about this. Stafford's coming back and LA just doesn't stop. The minute you want to count LA out, they sort of reset, recharge, reload, and they stay. They maintain. After Stafford will be their real test of who the next quarterback will be. But that's not a test they'll be taking next year. The MVP says he's coming back. Now you have the Super Bowl champion Seattle Seahawks. And look, it won't be all kumbaya. There is a disease of more. Everyone's going to put their hand out now up in Seattle looking for more. That's a team that might actually be sold in the next season or two. So that could be a big, seismic shift. But
the O coordinator's going to the Raiders.
The O coordinator is going to the Raiders for sure. But man, that is a really good young team. Their defense is so powerful and so fast that's going to be a problem, even as the sands of power start slipping through their fingers a little bit, because the NFL is built to strip you of your success. But they're good. And that's the thing. The Niners aren't just a football team in a division. They're a football team that is now looking up in their own division when that is not something that a lot of people expected. Let me just tell you, I thought one of the most interesting things I saw last night coming out on Twitter, Larry, was our friend Josh Dubow, another guy who I was happy to see on Media Row this week. Love Josh Dubow's work. He basically gave an NFC West review. Like, let's look at the division since Kyle Shanahan took over in 2017. Now, and this is something I used to argue with Ratto. We should go back to 2017 because that's when Kyle was hired. But even the most I hate Kyle Shanahan critic would have to admit that those 2 years, the job was to flush this awful roster and reload. So it's almost unfair to hold the first 2 years of the Shanahan era against Kyle, but it goes into the math of what we're talking about. So since Kyle got hired in 2017, the Rams in the division have a .617 winning percentage with 7 playoff berths and a Super Bowl title. The Seahawks now have a .611 winning percentage with 5 playoff berths and a Super Bowl title. The 49ers are a .550 winning percentage, 5 playoff berths, haven't won a title. Cardinals, .366, 1 playoff appearance, never won the Super Bowl. But Kyle was supposed to be the guy with the crown in this division, with the Super Bowls, and he's got now another coach who has absolutely leapt past him in 2 franchises that are winning more often than him. And I know we like to joke around about how SoFi Stadium is Candlestick South or Levi's South. There is no team in any stadium that is not their own more comfortable now and forever than the Seattle Seahawks at Levi's Stadium. We went from turkey on the 50 to turkey on the Super Bowl 60 for the Seattle Seahawks. Teams that have played 5 games, they have the highest winning. They have a higher winning percentage at Levi's Stadium than the Niners do. That is their home. That is their home at home and their home at Levi's Stadium. And that's a problem, man. That's a freaking problem for the 49ers.
Well, the bigger problem is there's only 3 ways to get players. The only ways to get players are the draft, and they draft better than you consistently, free agency, and that you have an electrical substation issue that's potentially going to keep teams, players from signing with you.
Maybe Chernobyl. That's a nice thing.
That right there creates a very difficult thing. I mean, if where are your players coming from? If you really only have the draft, undrafted college free agents, and free agency, that's basically, there's only, other than trades, and there are very few trades in the NFL, that's how you build your football team. So if now you've got issues with attracting free agents and you've got one arm tied behind your back there, and I think there's every reason to believe that they do have an arm tied behind their back, that there are going to be some players that are not going to sign with them because of the electrical substation. Maybe I'm wrong, but that's what it sounds like to me. It sounds like we're headed towards at least 10% or 20% of the free agents are going to be like, but no. Where I think I'll go sign. I think I'd rather play for Atlanta. I think I'd rather play for Carolina. It's like, already you've got California taxes and everything that comes with living here. Then you add in the electrical substation.
Right.
So you've got two, you're 0-2 in the box, in free agency. You're not hitting in the draft. And now you're going up against teams that have more money and are drafting better. So, I can sit here and shut up about the regime and just let it go. But we all know where it's going. It's going right down the tubes, because you're not going to go. You didn't draft shitty because you wanted to. You were trying to draft well, and in the process, you drafted poorly.
This is your best effort. We're looking at it.
Yeah, it's not like, they haven't been trying. They have been trying and failing, and so they've been failing in the draft. But they don't want. Shanahan's got the final say. He handpicked Lynch. Shanahan has real value, so they're never going to move off of Shanahan. They don't want to pull, try to yank his sheets and anger Shanahan. So they're just going to stay status quo. Jed is pretty satisfied with the checks coming in and all the money he's got money in place of rings. So he's kind of, he's probably, pretty satisfied. And then, so where's the impetus to get better? Why are the 49ers going to get better? I mean, it's like, are they going to get better because free agents are going to sign with them? No. Are they going to get better because Jed's going to start spending huge amounts of money? No. Are they going to get better? The only way they're going to get better is if they start winning in the draft. and they've been trying to win in the draft for 9 years, and they've missed 18 times in the first 3 rounds, 10 times in the third round alone. So I want to see the 49ers get up off the canvas, but realistically, I think they're going to do nothing. They're going to further sink behind, and then eventually Jed's going to pull the plug.
Well, look, I mean, we're being just
wrong.
Here's the thing, because we brought in all draft paranoia into the opening of today's show. And hi, everybody. Welcome to Wake Up. Damon, Larry, like and subscribe. Both channels. Thanks very much. This was a playoff team. This was a playoff team that went on the road. This was a playoff team that went and lost to the team that is the rightful deserving Super Bowl champion. And what did I also see? That every single time Jed has been knocked out of the postseason, that team played for or won the Super Bowl.
But is that supposed to make you feel better?
No, it's not supposed to make you feel better at all.
That wouldn't have made Eddie D feel better.
It would have actually probably made him even angrier, based on that AMC documentary.
But people are going to throw that out today as, you know what? They shouldn't feel that bad because every time they get beat, that team goes on and wins the Super Bowl. There are people that are going to throw that out.
They're not getting beat by chumps. They're not getting beat by chumps. At least that's happening. There's a lot of teams that go out and lose to chump football teams all the time. The Niners
does it matter why you lose or who you lose to if you lose? I don't know. It's either you play to win. If you don't win, it doesn't matter to me. I know there's a lot of people that are, and I was joking off the start. Oh, the Seahawks, but in reality, I don't care. I don't care if the Seahawks win it or the Rams win it or the Falcons win it or the Patriots win it. To me, there's 2 wins.
I'll just say this,
and everybody else. And it's like if the Niners win it, that should be elation. If the Niners don't win it, it really shouldn't matter.
Right. But in sports, I think there's a difference between getting knocked out by Mike Tyson and some dude you never heard of. Like there's some dignity being knocked out by Mike Tyson because that's what Mike Tyson does.
Now there you go. I don't agree. I don't think it's okay to lose just because you lose to a team that eventually, at least let's just say this. If that's your standard, you've taken the 49ers standard and you've whipped out your, you know what, and you're pissing all over it because Eddie D didn't care. So why should Jed care? And why should I care? And why should anybody care that they lose to a team that goes on to win? I know it may soften it a little bit. You're not losing to schlubs, but you're losing.
But let's talk about this. This is the reality of it. You do have a good head coach. I think you got the right quarterback.
I agree.
It is not an unmitigated up down the roster, can't compete, just dog shit football team. Again, they knocked out the defending Super Bowl champs and won a playoff game. I think by any reasonable person's standard, it was a good year of football when you factor in all the injuries at the high-profile names and positions that they suffered with and the Ayuk thing. They did a hell of a job this year. That doesn't mean it was a good year of 49er football when we hold it up against the standard. But let me tell you, Larry, Niner fans sound an awful lot like Indiana basketball fans talking about how, oh, man, let me tell you what it used to be around here. Indiana won in 1987. That's the last time they hung a banner. You got memories. The last 30 years.
How many Final Fours since then?
Standard. 2. One.
So they're a lot like the Niners.
Yeah. Oh, and yes, Indiana. But by the way, Indiana.
It's okay to have high standards. You don't have to apologize for having high standards.
No, you shouldn't. Okay. You should never apologize for having high standards.
The Niners have high standards, and it's okay. And it's not. It's okay to say they're not meeting their standards when they're not meeting their standards.
I wonder. I think Niners fans might have higher standards than the Niners owner, which is really scary because you're not changing the owner. You're not changing the owner. Jed is not coming off of this team. Jed looks at his son and says, that's where this team's going someday. He's not putting it on up for sale. So you're not changing the owner, but you do have a good coach. You got a good quarterback. I think the problem is the general manager, Who in God's name is the Seattle Seahawks assistant general manager? His name is Nolan Teasley. I'm hiring that guy today. What did you learn from John Schneider? How do you do it? Come on in today. Hire him today to be the next right-hand man of John Lynch and quintuple his salary so he says yes.
I think the guy that you really want is it's a great idea, by the way, that you have right there to go for, who's doing it well, right?
Give me
who's doing this well and go figure it out. Go copy them. But the guy that I would go after is this guy, Trent Kirshner. He's the vice president of player personnel for the Seahawks. He's the top lieutenant for John Schneider. He's been there since 2020. And I think, I got to look him up, but I think I could have swore he had some tie to the Niners. But that's the guy that I would go after, Trent Kirshner. I mean, he's been in that front office for a while.
I mean, what position do you give him? You just bumped Al, what was his name?
Guido?
Al Guido just got bumped to a title that might have lured a guy like that to San Francisco. Make up a new title. I mean, it's like the episode of Cheers where they just gave Woody a new title and he felt good about it. Make something up. Get him in there.
Yeah, I mean, this guy played quarterback at St. John's University in Minnesota. He's married with 2 kids. He's been in Seattle's front office for a while now. He's interviewed for a couple different GM jobs. He's just in his 5th season as the VP of player personnel, following 5 seasons as the co-director of player personnel, 2 seasons as the Seahawks pro personnel director. So he directs both college scouting and pro personnel departments for the Seahawks. And it's like, you know what? Pick this guy off and give him personnel control. I mean, you've tried it one way for a decade. You've got Lynch there, and you've got Shanahan who's like the final say, and it's not working. Your roster, you just had $100 million of dead cap. You're missing as much as you're hitting in the draft. You've hit a couple picks, but they're hitting more. So, I mean, this is where Eddie D would roll in and probably heads would roll. Now, I'm not saying that Eddie D is the perfect guy. Sometimes he was probably a little too impulsive and maybe not he sounds like he fired Walsh multiple times. And, so obviously that wasn't a good thing because Walsh is an all-time great. But he had high standards. And this guy, Trent Kirshner, is John Schneider's right-hand man. And let's slow down what they got going, and let's make Lynch more of a face of the franchise, team president. You've got Guido as like the bean counter.
Let him call into the KNBR morning show and basically back out of the draft room a little bit.
I mean, you could still have a voice, but and you could still be part of the brain trust. You're just not the decision maker when it comes to personnel. I mean, go try something new. I mean, Shanahan's a hell of a coach, but there's a big difference between being a coach and a general manager. And he's a great coach. What are the odds? I mean, Mike Holmgren was a great coach. He wasn't a great general manager. Bill Belichick's maybe the greatest coach. He wasn't a great general manager. Bill Walsh passed on Tom Brady as the general manager for Gio Carmazzi. So Bill Walsh was a great coach who was just an okay general manager. For Ron Wolf that's how Mike Holmgren won a Super Bowl. He got with Ron Wolf, who was a great personnel guy. Why are the Patriots suddenly good? They've got Elliott Wolf and Mike Vrabel. They've got a person, John Schneider and Mike McDonald. You've got 2 guys that are great at what they do. And I just think that's what they ought to do. They ought to go get somebody who's a little bit more established as a drafter, take some of the control away from Kyle. I'd even give Lynch and Shanahan, if I was Jed, I don't want to break up the whole organization. I'll even consider giving you raises. We'll promote you. We'll give you an extra $1 million to let Kirshner have the final word on personnel. John, we'll give you an extra $1 million to be the president of the team and allow Trent Kirshner to have the final say on personnel. Go get somebody who's got the final say on personnel, who actually knows personnel and can do it.
What's Scott McCloughan doing? I mean, there are guys who really are personnel people that, they had. Now, I know McCloughan had his demons. He had some serious problems with alcohol. He's supposed to be a lot better now. I don't know if he wants the spotlight of anything. Put him in a room. Let him work for you. Hire him as a consultant. I know we're talking about maybe too many voices in the room, but they
need more voices. The voices that are in there right now are people. I mean, you know the way it works. Come on. I mean, it's like, it's no different than any business. If you know that your boss and your boss's boss control your, livelihood and paycheck and future in the company, and they like person A, what are you going to walk in there and be like, no, I like person B, and like put yourself at odds and warring with the power? You're going to be gone. You're going to be gone. So nobody does that. So what happens? It's like you get that Al Davis thing, that story I told you where one of his lieutenants said, Al, I want what you want. And that's basically what I'm sure there are scouts in the Niner room who are like, Kyle, I want what you want. Why? Because they like their jobs and they want to stick around. But telling Kyle that you like CJ Beathard, telling Kyle that you think Dante Pettis and Jalen Hurd were good picks is not helping. It's not helping. So that's where they're at. They've got, do nothing and experience the same thing for the next couple of years and then get fired and they start anew, or make adjustments on the fly and keep this thing on the tracks and on the rails, keep it rolling. You got a lot of positive things. There's a lot of money rolling in. Lynch is a very talented guy. He can do a lot of things. Shanahan's a great play caller. He's a great offensive coach. Convince him that, hey, Kyle, this guy Kirshner is going to give us a chance to have better personnel, and you're going to have a chance to win that Super Bowl. I mean, if I was being honest with Kyle Shanahan and John Lynch, if we were sitting in a room right now and they said, Krug, be totally fucking honest with us, I'd say you guys are both huge positives on where this franchise has been, but neither of you is great at personnel. So let's go get somebody who is, and let's get Kyle the players that he needs to win a Super Bowl. Because guess what? If we do the same thing and we don't win the Super Bowl 3 years from now, I'm back on TV, and you've got some other general manager here most likely, and there's a lot of heat on Shanahan, and maybe Shanahan even wants to quit and move on somewhere else because now Jed's bugging him. But if you go and change out your personnel guy and start hitting in the draft and build a team that's great, you're going to win the Super Bowl. And if you win the Super Bowl, there's going to be plenty of credit that goes to Kyle, to John, to Jed, to Parag, to Kirshner, to everybody. We're all going to get plenty of praise if we get this done, but we're all going to get fired if we don't get this done. So what do you want to do? How are we going to do this? And I definitely, now you mentioned McCloughan. I've mentioned John Dorsey in the past. That's another angle. You could go get a McCloughan or a Dorsey, a former personnel guy, a Kevin Colbert, a retired personnel guy, and just pay him, $250,000 to come in and through the draft, be an independent set of eyes on the thing, and hopefully that makes your whole thing. Maybe you avoid a couple mistakes. Maybe you hit on a couple more players. I mean, we're just talking about,
somebody. Here's the thing. Do you think, Larry, let's be totally honest. Do you think in the history of the 49ers, they have ever gotten pushback on a player the way that I pushed back on AJ Jenkins 30 seconds after he was drafted? Do you think that that's ever happened? Do you think that there's ever been a person in the room who's had the stones to say, this is absurd directly as it's happening? What they need is
They're good coach. Jobs, dude. They're really good jobs. So people, I would say no.
A coach,
I would say no.
Right. They need a coach of no.
What they need is somebody who's independent wealth.
Right. Yeah. They need
a great scout who's rich. They need somebody who doesn't need their fucking job and is going to say, you know what? I think this guy's better. And if, That's it. Period. Go with it. It's like, why would you keep doing the same thing when you're not having success?
What I really think we need. Here's how we start the process of changing who exactly has the decision. If I am conducting this interview, I'm in the interview with Kyle, John, and his entire team of scouts. My first question would be, whose instincts brought you to Trey Lance? Who is the person that sold you on Trey Lance more than anybody? That person then has to raise their hand, and I say, you, congratulations, are eliminated from the process.
You're voted off of 49er Island?
Who is the person who said Moody third round? Someone has to raise their hand. You are out of you're done. We're done with your idea. Exactly. We will extinguish your tiki torch. You are off Niner Island.
Who was it that brought us Cam Latu? Goodbye. There's the door. Yeah, no, I mean it sounds super harsh. And it's people picking people. So I'm not going to sit there and pretend that if I had this job, I'd hit 1,000%. I would absolutely not. I would miss as well.
Here's what I do know. Larry. And you are so much more of a personnel honk than anyone wants to be. But if they gave me the job, I could do this. I could get you where you are right now. And I'm just a guy on YouTube who talks sports for a living. But I could have done this. I could have done this. What you need is someone better than me to do even better than me. But I could have done this. So this is pedestrian, is what I'm saying. They have a pedestrian level of drafting history. I would walk up to Kyle and say, first of all, your hand-selected picks are usually the guys that get the least amount of snaps, least amount of playing time. So this is you, Kyle. It is.
Yeah, I mean, it's like, Kyle, help me, help you.
Wrong way. Exactly. Your instincts are leading you the wrong way, down the wrong path too many times for you to be the guy holding the map on this shit anymore.
It's like Kyle has so much confidence in himself and his knowledge of football that he's not willing to admit what he doesn't know. I mean, he's a great personnel guy away from being one of the greatest coaches of all time. But he doesn't have a great personnel guy, and so they're falling further and further behind. Here's a bigger issue, though. I want to share this. I want to show you this. This is a graphic from the Super Bowl in the pregame. Okay, this is passer rating leaders against the number one scoring defense in the Super Bowl. Okay, so what do we notice here? Roger Staubach, Super Bowl 13, went up against the vaunted Steelers, lost 35-31. Put up 31, but lost. Marino went up against the Niners in 84, lost 38-16. Montana went up against the Broncos, who I didn't realize were the number one scoring defense in that year. They put 55 on the number one scoring defense. So Montana got the win, right? But everybody else
performance in Super Bowl history.
Yeah, I mean, but everybody else lost. Jim Kelly, Giants, the loss to the Giants. Matt Ryan lost to the Patriots. Drake May just lost yesterday to the Seahawks. When I look at this, Damon, what it tells me is, one, Joe Montana was really special, and that Niner team was really special. But it also tells me that, you know what, you could have a Hall of Fame quarterback, because that's what Marino is. That's what Staubach is. That's what Jim Kelly is. That's what Joe is. We'll see about the other two guys. You could have a Hall of Fame quarterback, but if you have a killer defense, the killer defense is going to win. And it's now 5 out of 6.
The cliche has never been quarterbacks win championships. It's defense wins championships. And that's why this team better get it right starting right now on the line of scrimmage.
They have to get a defense and an offensive line. You're right. They has to be on both sides of the line of scrimmage. If you cannot move the Seattle front, and they cannot, you can't beat them. And look at the Rams, who almost beat them. What did the Rams do in the NFC title game? They ran the ball really effectively. Blake Corum went for 6 yards a carry. Stafford threw it effectively. They were probably the best team that the Seattle team went against, and they had some success and still lost. So the bottom line is you better get real serious about the line of scrimmage, offensive line, defensive line, and defense overall. I mean,
I don't care how sexy or attractive the wide receiver that's sitting there at 27 is. Take the third best lineman on your board other than taking the number one wide receiver, because your number one wide receiver won't do shit unless Brock Purdy has some protection in front of him to get him the ball.
Yeah, I mean, you can't go wide receiver.
No,
you can't go wide receiver. You have to build up your line of scrimmage, your defense. They need, watching this Niner documentary, The Rise of the Niners, it reminded me, living it in real time. The Niners had Joe in the 79 draft, but the Niners didn't become the Niners until Ronnie showed up, and because he's a fearsome Hall of Fame defender. And that's what the Seahawks have. They have fearsome guys. I don't know if they're Hall of Famers, but they have fearsome defenders.
They're fast as hell.
Fast, fearsome defenders. The 49ers need to go find themselves fast and fearsome defenders. And they don't need one player. They need to trade back from where they're at and get multiple players. They need a 10 to 15 man draft class minimum to fill their needs. And they're not going to get blue chippers every time.
Picks, Larry, but 9 of those picks need to be on the line of scrimmage or certainly in the defense's front 7. They needed linebacker, so you can't win without linebackers, period. I thought the only other guy who had a legitimate claim to being this Super Bowl MVP was Ernest Jones, who was the game's leading tackler in a game that was decided on defense. I thought he could have made a claim for it. They gave it to Walker. No problem with Kenneth Walker getting Super Bowl MVP, but I really thought in a game that was so defense forward, a defender probably should have been named Super Bowl MVP. But I just think they're going to have to start taking that award and like separating it. Like, here's your game's MVP, and your defensive player of the game is like that. That I think needs to happen, because there is nobody on offense who affected that game as much as both those defenses tried to last night.
I mean, the 49ers need 2 linebackers. They need a defensive tackle who can rush the passer. They need a defensive end. They need literally 4 new players on their defensive front 7 alone. They also need a left guard and a new center. So they really, between the offensive line and the defensive front 7, the 49ers need like 6 players. And that's not like, hyperbole. No, they need a left guard. They need a center. They need a pass rushing tackle. They need a defensive end. I mean, they need 2 linebackers for sure. They got nothing at linebacker. So, I mean,
Larry, again,
6 picks right there.
My opening statement on this show 45 minutes ago or whatever it was, and you pushed back a little saying, no, you need good players too on the outside. You've come around. You get it now.
No, I'm just saying that's what you need there. You're still not good. You need another running back. You don't have George Kittle. Okay, so you need a tight end. You don't have anything at receiver. Anything. You need 2 or 3 receivers.
They didn't have anything at receiver last year, and they pretty much threw the ball all around the NFL.
Anyway. They did. They had Juwan Jennings. They had Pearsall. Now, I mean, I don't think you're going to have Juwan Jennings. And then what do you got? Because Bourne's older. Jennings, Pearsall's still hurt. I mean, they have no receivers, no linebackers. They have 1 linebacker, Fred Warner, who's older. So, I mean, it's just, they have lots of needs. I just push back on the idea that those are their only needs. I didn't say they only. Need wide receivers.
Priority, though.
They need running backs. They need guys who can touch the ball, and they need offensive linemen, and they need defensive linemen, and they need 2 linebackers, and they need impact guys in the secondary. It's like they need a ton, which is why I like John Lynch. John Lynch is a good dude. When my father passed and I was feeling like hell, John Lynch picked up the phone and left me a really, really nice, warm voicemail saying that the 49ers were so sad for my loss. And, he's just a class act. I like John Lynch. I want John Lynch to be successful. If I could give John Lynch the secrets to the test and just say, John, here are all the best players. Go take them, draft. I would do it. I want to win more than I want credit. I don't want John Lynch out. I just need them to draft better. So I would promote him and I would promote Kyle, give them more money, and just tell them, hey, look, let's try this. I'm with you. If I was Jed, I'd be like, John, Kyle, I'm with you. I'm with you as much today as I was in 2017. But we're 10 years in. We're falling behind. This isn't working well. Let's try this. Kyle, take a step back. You just coach. John, take a step back. Just be the face of the franchise and run our team, build consensus. But we're going to bring in this young personnel guy. We're going to give him control over the drafts for the next couple of years. And then how about this? The three of us will sit down and reevaluate where this is at in 2 years. If it's not where we want it to be and we don't like this guy, we'll move off of him. If it's not where we want to be and we want you guys to be back doing it, you guys can make your argument to me. But let's go 2 years. Let's go get a Trent Kirshner. Let's pay him some money. Let's give him some control, give him a wide berth, and let's see if we can try to do something. And I'll give you an extra $1 million here or $1 million there for your ego, for, so because I realize I'm asking you,
And John, you can be a big media guy and you can do, you can shake hands with all the veterans who come to training camp and all that shit. And you're basically like a show pony.
Well, no, you can even have a say, but you just don't have the final say. And Kyle, you can have a say. We want you to have a say. You're the fucking coach. We want you to have a say. And John, believe me, I'm sure there's somewhere along the line there where John, because of his experience in the league, said, hey, let's steer clear. Give you an example. There were a lot of people yelling up and down a lot this year for James Pierce, all right, because he had 10.5 sacks. Now, I wasn't as big on James Pierce with the Niners just because he's 240 pounds and they're looking for more like a 270 guy. But he definitely got some pass rush for Atlanta. He had 10 sacks. I don't know if you saw what happened this weekend, but he got arrested for some kind of domestic situation, and it sounds like he's a bad guy. Now, there was talk around the draft that Pierce was a bad guy who lots of teams had off their board, and maybe the Niners were one of those teams. So probably, John had some say in, identifying these bad guys. And so I'm just saying he probably has a positive role. I'm just saying, look at what Seattle's doing. Look how they're crushing it. Let's put a different set of eyes on it. Let's add at least some, even if we're not going to take Kyle and John's power away, let's add another voice independent to the room. And let's put a new set of eyes on this and let's re-examine where we're at and where we're going, because Seattle, I think we can all admit, has passed by, right? They've passed the Niners by.
I mean, and they're going to have a parade on Wednesday that passes everybody by too, and that's proof of it. Look, Seattle absolutely dominated that game. And by the way, I predicted. I told you starting Seattle loud. That's all I said all week. Who do you think is going to win this game? My answer was Seattle loud every single time. That's about as loud of a Super Bowl win as you can have. The Patriots weren't in that game for a second of game clock. They weren't in it for a minute. Like all that garbage time offense that exploded in the fourth quarter just served Las Vegas. It didn't serve the Super Bowl in any way. But I got to tell you, Darnold, what a great day for him. What a great day for that guy. And he absolutely earned it, Larry. This guy's been disrespected since the minute he was drafted out of USC, and he played poorly in a horrible organizations. Then when he got to a decent organization like the Niners, his profile started to raise, and he was the backup quarterback when Purdy went to the Super Bowl. Then he gets the Minnesota job. Minnesota literally has him have an exemplary regular season right in front of him, but then comes up short when it matters the most in the postseason, and they panic. They're like bitch-ass fans who think that this one football of afternoon is now the career-defining moment of this player. They panicked, and they moved on from Darnold. Seattle picked him up. Minnesota was nowhere to be seen this year, and look at what Darnold just did. Big mistake, Sam. The big mistake, the fumble, the guy who led the regular season in turnovers, fumbles this year. Guess what? He never made the big mistake. Seattle wasn't threatened for a minute in that game. And we just saw the Seahawks become the first team to ever go through a postseason without a turnover. Zero turnovers for Seattle. Zero.
Darnold understood what Darnold had to do. They convinced him early. I mean, heck, they treated him a little bit like Jimmy G early on. They didn't have him throwing the ball. It was a lot of run. But, I mean, let's just be honest about this. Kenneth Walker had his bust out moment career wise. I mean, this K9's been up and down. Heck, there was times when there were Seahawk people who were like, Charbonnet, go with Charbonnet.
Charbonnet's better. Yeah.
Yeah. But Kenneth Walker's a free agent to be, and he's always had great speed, great cutting ability, and he just played like I thought he would play when he was in college at Michigan State, Wake Forest.
Setting up blocks. Collinsworth even said
great speed.
Just like his last name.
He's powerful.
He approaches that line of scrimmage. He lets those blocks set up, and then he hits the hole. Now, here's the thing. Wrong time to get in on the Kenneth Walker business. He's going to make a ton of money in free agency. It's the wrong time to be buying that stock. Why don't you figure out if any point in time in this year, the kid from Oregon that you had on your team that you didn't play until the Seattle loss, why don't you find out if he might be your next Kenneth Walker?
Don't go into next year banking that he is, though. I mean, you put him. I would not take any of their guys that haven't done it and vault them into any kind of power role. It's like, hey, yeah, hopefully they can be better next year, but go get some other backs.
All right, is everyone really?
They need more running backs. They need another running back. They need a big time running back. Christian McCaffrey is a nice complimentary back. Throw it to him out of the backfield. He's nice, but go get another starting caliber running back or two and run the ball.
I mean, McCaffrey's a tad more than a complimentary running back. He's a fucking bell cow. He's the only bell cow in the league, basically. He's the only guy.
I wouldn't have him in that role anymore. I mean, he even said it himself. He's like, he's open-minded to the Niners bringing in another running back and changing his role.
Brian Robinson Jr. was here all year. They didn't even use him. He had 400 yards. Any swinging dick in their backfield from their practice squad could have had the 400 yards that Brian Robinson Jr. had.
Well, then use them. I mean, it's you're right. They could use. They need to. It doesn't matter who came in and how they played. They didn't use those guys, but they need to use them going forward. They need to turn McCaffrey into more of a scat back, more of a throw it to him out of the backfield to change a pace back. He can't. You're not going to get. I mean, last couple times he's had this many touches, he's missed 10, 12, 13 games. I mean, the reality is that he's probably not going to be healthy next year because of the workload he had this year. All I'm saying is take his workload and get it in a more reasonable deal. I mean, you don't have to use him on every single play. You don't have to use him endlessly. Get to the playoffs with a healthy McCaffrey. Use other backs. Come on. I mean, it's like
they did.
Need to use other backs.
He was healthy in the playoffs this year, and I will say this: I had Ed McCaffrey on my show. He said that his son feels better than he's ever have after a football season, which is great because we talked about tread off the tires. I even told him, I said, Ed, Kyle Shanahan has a heroin problem. Your son is his heroin. Every other running back is methadone to Kyle, and he can't give up the real stuff for the other stuff. Like, are you worried about Kyle overdosing on your son? And he said, well, it's impossible to get Christian off the field. That shit has to stop. This my player won't come off the field nonsense. What the fuck are we talking about? You're the head coach. What you say is gospel. Everyone listens to you, prays to you, tithes to you. You run the show. It shouldn't be any harder than getting a player off the field than this. That's it. That's all it should ever take. You're the head coach. Oh, my player's not coming off the field because he's such a gamer. What the fuck is that? That's some high school bullshit.
Well, they need to find another back who they can lean on a lot. They need more speed in the backfield. They need more explosive plays in the backfield. So, it's one or the other, right? It's like Christian was not very efficient this year. He had like 5 games where he ran for under 3 yards a carry. But we've been told that Christian's awesome. But we've been told that Brendel's awesome and that Burford's awesome. And then all these guys up front are awesome.
Brendel and Burford are absolutely upgradable. And that's where the 49ers need to improve their level of what is your standard around here? If your standard is Brendel's fine, that's the problem. That's a huge problem. Brendel's fine. He does a good job. No,
none of it's fine.
Here's the thing.
None of it's fine.
He does. He does do a good job. He is fine, but that can't be.
No, he's not. No, he's not. He's not fine. You had 3rd and 1 You didn't even try to run up the middle. You had 4th and 1. You didn't try to run up the middle. You're not trying to run up the middle because you think it's smart to run wide on 4th and 1. You're not running up the middle because you don't think that Brendel and Pooney and Burford can move those guys, and thus you ran wide. I mean,
what are you doing with your fullback?
Coaching around your talent.
And instead of using your fullback like a battering ram up the middle, you got him running fullback option pitch. I mean, what are you doing?
I mean, anyway, it was the worst call of all time.
Are you ready? Do you really want to start hating yourself and everyone here? I mean, this is, you really want to be like, oh, Niner fans, here you go. Jack Andrade of NFL Research. Seattle's defense had more sacks, 9, and takeaways, 4. In their 2 games at Levi's Stadium than the entire 49ers did in their 8 home games this year.
Yeah, not so
the 49ers had 7 total sacks with 3 takeaways in their 8 home games. Seattle had 9 sacks and 4 takeaways in just 2 games at Levi's Stadium this year. Ugh.
Well, I mean, and then once again, it's like it's an obvious issue, but the solution is like, well, wait a second, Robert Saleh's great. Okay, so it's not Robert Saleh's fault. So if it wasn't Robert Saleh's fault, then whose fault is it? You were horrible. You were the worst team in the NFL at sacking the quarterback. The worst. And you weren't the worst by a little bit. You were the worst by a fucking country mile. You had 20 sacks. The second worst team in sacks had 26. You had 6 fewer sacks than the worst team in football. You were by far the worst team at rushing the passer. So are we blaming Robert Saleh? No. Robert Saleh's got a brand new job as the head coach of the Tennessee Titans. We're not blaming Robert Saleh. So if it's not Robert Saleh's fault, then why are we not blaming Robert Saleh? Because he didn't have the players. So whose fault is that? So that's where I get to this point where I'm just like, I get so tired of the sycophants. It's like, wait a second. So it wasn't Robert Saleh's fault because he's great, but it wasn't anybody's fault. I mean, you were dead last in sacks, and it's not the fault of the guy drafting, and it's not the fault of the coach. Well, who are you blaming? You're going to blame Louise selling hot dogs in the upper deck? Who are we blaming? You're going to blame Eric Branch from the Chronicle? You're going to blame, me and Damon for, from our YouTube perch? I mean, who's taking the blame for the fact that you were dead last in sacks if Robert Saleh is not to blame? And nobody says he is.
Look, and here's the deal.
You didn't have any players. Period.
Nick Bosa getting hurt cannot be the reason why sacking the quarterback became a foreign language to the rest of your defense.
You had nothing. And you drafted 3 defense. Think about this for a second. You drafted 3 defensive linemen in the first 4 rounds of the draft. They combined for like 2 sacks all year. McKell, CJ West, Collins, these guys had like less than 5 sacks combined. 3 defensive linemen taken in the first 4 rounds of the draft, and you got very little sack production. I mean, think about that.
Hey, Bryce,
you devoted your highest picks to, and your biggest offseason acquisition was Bryce Huff, and still you were last in sacks. So I mean, nobody's to blame, or somebody's to blame, and I would say somebody's to blame.
Again, I want hands. Whose idea was it to take Moody in the 3rd round? Hand goes up. You out. You out. Just out. Goodbye. Whose idea was it to trade up for Trey Lance? Kyle, that was really you? All right, no more picks for you, buddy. Sorry. You will play the players we give you. You're out of the decision-making process. They need a coach of no. I need to be that coach. I need to be that. I just got to be the guy who's, what do? I just tell the Niners, no, that's stupid. No, that's stupid. Hey, we're going to draft a running back from Oregon that we think is going to be pretty good. And even though he's not hurt for basically any point in time since beyond training camp, we are going to be unable to get him on the field until it's the playoff game in Seattle that we're losing, and he actually plays pretty well up there. Whoever led it to that, you're done. Just no
Yeah, I
more.
mean, you could have had Kyle Monangi in the 7th round. Instead, you took Jordan James.
Give me about another half an hour here, Jackie. Okay. Thanks, buddy. By the way, no 11 o'clock show for me today because San Francisco public schools are on strike today. So it's me and Jack today hanging out. Ozzy's in daycare, so he's good. But I'm on solo dad duty here today, so that's why I'm not doing an 11 o'clock show. So again, like and subscribe because this video is going to be pumping throughout the entire day, and I need everyone to watch it. Here's the other thing I want to give you, Larry, before we move on here. Kenneth Walker had more runs of 20 or more yards at Levi's Stadium than the San Francisco 49ers had this year.
Yeah. Once again, they need a running back who's more explosive. It's like CMC's nice. They need help. They need more than one guy. And they need an offensive line. I mean, their offensive line. But this Seattle thing has really gotten bad because what's happened here is they have the Niners number. The Niners don't have a good enough running attack. It's really as simple as that. The Seahawks sit in that too high. So basically they're basically giving two safeties deep in the middle of the field. So pre-snap, they're giving you a look of don't try to go down the field. Dump it. They're forcing you to run it or throw it short. Okay. And then when nobody had higher percentage of light boxes on defense than Seattle. They have two safeties deep. They've got 6 guys in the box, and they're just daring you. Come on, run it. But the 49ers were unable in 2 games to run them out of their too deep, too shell look. And if you can't run them out of it, then you either have to have an incredible armed quarterback who can throw lasers everywhere, or you got to have that incredible speed receiver that can hit a seam and be gone. Otherwise, it's game over. And it was game over.
Larry, when you have 4 down linemen who can get pressure on a quarterback, you have everything you could ever want defensively as a defensive coordinator. When you got 4 guys who can stop the run and create pressure, you can have the best defense in football.
Well, it's not just the front 4 though. To me, the big difference for them is it's the second level guys, because they're basically saying, hey, we're not going to put our DBs in the second level. We're going to drop them and they're going to be deep and down the field. We're going to discourage you from going down the field. And they do. So then what do? Every shot you took at me, you've got to throw the ball underneath, but they have second level speed of Eman Worry and Drake Thomas, and these guys are just flying around. So it's the combination of it's a well-conceived defensive unit. It's big, strong front 4, unbelievable speed on the second level, and a lot of stars on the back end. Devin Witherspoon's a star. This Eman Worry kid's a star. So, I mean, they've got a ton. And the 49ers, the only way they're going to get out of this is they're going to have to get some big physical offensive linemen, a better running back, and they're going to have to run the ball with success.
And they're going to need defensive players up and down the board that do not mess around. I mean, it's time.
Well, that leads me to this, because to me, you said, where do the Niners start? People come to us, they're looking for a little guidance. They're looking for give me an idea. Here's an idea. Okay. The 49ers had Joe Montana in 1980. They had Bill Walsh in 1980, but they still sucked. They went 6-10. Why? Because they could not stop anybody. What did they need? They needed a fearsome defender. They got one. His name was Ronnie Lott. Here is a fearsome defender that the 49ers probably should add. His name's A.J. Halsey for LSU. He's a safety. And here he is, number 13. He's a transfer. Came from Houston. He was awesome at Houston. Came to LSU. He's a 220-pound safety who hits like a truck and is a real tone setter. There are no more Ronnie Lotts in football. Ronnie Lotts are, it's like a dinosaur. It's like the T-Rex. It's extinct, right? There's no Ronnie Lotts. But this guy is as close as I've seen this year to a Ronnie Lott-like intimidator. who's got great movement abilities, 220, and he will start you. He's one of the hardest hitting safeties in college football. So 8 interceptions, by the way, over the past 2 seasons as well. He's not just a hitter. This
Well,
guy,
look, I mean, I like players in the secondary from LSU. Is he there at 27?
Definitely.
Okay, don't draft him at 27. Take the third best defensive lineman before you take the best fucking safety in football. You need more beef up front, period, end of story. You'd be just fine with Malik Mustafa and Jair Brown coming back. But
they need big time guys. They need culture changing type players. I mean, the Seahawks have some really, really great players. And they're culture changing type players. I agree. I mean, you need a bunch. What you really need more than anything are great players. It doesn't matter what position they really play. You need great players.
Look, we've been down on the Niners here for an hour and 5 minutes. Let me tell you the one thing they did get right this weekend. The 49ers absolutely sent the message to the entire football world. And Sam Darnold helped this message. And by the way, Sam Darnold giving Brock Purdy credit for changing his career in the postgame, I thought was a good moment too for the Niners and for Shanahan. But what I really liked was them basically saying, we're not interested in trading Mac Jones, which is the right message to get out there, because that message is come with the Godfather offer. If you want this guy, show up with a big wad of cash in draft assets and players. That's the right message. And I'm telling you, some team is going to come. Some team is going to be interested in Mac Jones. And that was the right thing for the Niners to put out this year, or this weekend.
Well, I mean, first of all, the right thing would have been like, hey, we got a trade lined up and it's going to be awesome. But I mean, this is what happens when teams offer what he's really worth. What is he really worth? He's probably worth a 3rd round pick. All right. That's probably what he's really worth. But
a 2nd and a 4th or a 2nd and a 5th, you got to go in the 2nd round now.
In today's, marketplace, Fernando Mendoza's a rookie. You don't know about rookies. And he's going to go number 1 overall in the draft. So now once the Raiders pick, he's probably off the board. Okay. So now he's gone. Now what's left? Malik Willis or Mac Jones, or trading for what? Kyler Murray, or maybe there's some quarterback that could be traded for that we're not envisioning. But I mean, we're talking about very, very few options out there. So yeah, the 49ers should be asking for 2 day 2 picks and a player. That's
King's
what they
ransom.
should. That's what they should. Minnesota, you want him? We'll take Jordan Addison, your 2nd round pick this year, your 3rd round pick next year. You want him? There you go. You can have him. That's the and Arizona. You want him? We'll take Michael Wilson, your 2nd round pick this year, your 3rd round pick next year. I mean, that is the price tag. I mean, that should be the price tag.
By the way, Mr. Big Daddy Joe here said trade Mac and Brock gets hurt again. Then what, Damon? I hear you. Again, in a perfect world, I am not trading. There's only one position on the entire football team where the Niners get an A+ at the player at the position, and then as backup quarterback. The Niners have the best backup quarterback in the NFL. I don't think there's even a debate to be had.
Yeah, but let's talk about that for a second, though. Let's talk about it for just a second. The backup quarterback in the NFL would be like you having, some incredible luxury item, right? You don't just have windows on your house in San Francisco. You've got Hunter Douglas wooden blinds on every window. They're thousands and thousands of dollars. Is it smart? Yeah. You just added value to your house. Oh, wait a second. It's not smart because you don't have a roof and you don't have a garage door and you don't have a kitchen. But you're going to convince your wife that you need these incredible plantation shutters that look awesome? No, you need a roof first. You need a kitchen first. You got to have a garage door first. You got to have a front. You know what I mean? So some things take precedent. And I would say, I know Mac Jones is valuable. Don't get me wrong. I know he's valuable, and you can't give him away, and I agree with that. But you also can't just keep a great backup quarterback as you have no pass rush, no D-line, a crappy O-line, no receivers, no linebackers. You need to use Matt. Let's be totally frank about this. The Niners need to use Mac Jones as a vehicle to improve their roster. And the one advantage the Niners do have in 2026 is that they are, without a doubt, the leader in the reclamation quarterback aisle. Every reclamation candidate is going to want to play for the Niners because of Darnold, because of Jones. So you got to lean into it. You've got to move Jones. You got to go sign somebody else, and you got to go move that guy within a year. You got to keep doing this move because this is your advantage. That
by the way,
there's no doubt about it.
Paying off that insurance policy sucks right up until the day your house burns down. And then you're like, okay, now I see the value. And that's what Mac was.
There's no reason to have it's like having a second car that's a Lamborghini when you don't have, your kids aren't going to school and you have no food in the cupboard. It's like,
right, you got
No, dude, you don't need the second Lamborghini. You need to feed your family and get your kids in school. And that's what Mac Jones is. He's an insurance policy against your young quarterback that you just paid. And not to mention that
they cashed in the insurance policy. This is the year that they needed it, and it's the reason why they went to Philadelphia to beat the Eagles. Had Mac Jones not been involved, now
that's why you got to get a lot.
Here's my question. How is Curtis Rourke going to be ready to go? I'm not even convinced that Curtis Rourke's going to be anything ever. I mean, it's like we haven't seen.
Exactly. It's like totally.
It's a full do not know. But that's the thing. Now, Kyle Shanahan.
You can't bank on that.
Kyle Shanahan has this reputation of being the guy who fixes it. He's Jeff Spicoli. I can fix it, and maybe that leads them to the next Mac Jones, just like they had the last Sam Darnold, right? And that'll be good for them. That will
Zach
pay
Wilson,
off.
Maybe Rourke. Maybe Rourke's that guy. Maybe Rourke plays well and looks great in the preseason, and maybe somebody comes knocking for him, maybe even sooner rather than later. So, I mean, all I'm saying is you can't sit on the valuable backup quarterback. There was a reason that the Niners moved off of Joe when they were going with Steve, because it's like there was no reason to have them both, and there's no real reason to keep going. I mean, I love it, but the reality is that Mac Jones wants to play. He doesn't want to make $7 million to be Brock's backup. He wants to make $27 million to be somebody's starter, and I don't think you can deny him that. But you're not handing him over. Like Indianapolis, you want him. Minnesota, you want him. Raiders, Vikings, or Cardinals, Jets, one of these donkey teams that needs a quarterback. Yeah, you better come correct. Two day 2 picks and a player. I would say is
quarterback. Chiefs need a quarterback. It's gonna be a while before we see Patrick Mahomes back under center.
Yeah,
if they want to be ready to give it to, hand the baton back to Patrick Mahomes, a guy like Mac Jones could be the player who gets you in position to hand that baton back. And what do you know? They're still in the playoff hunt. So
Atlanta, I mean, is Michael Penix your guy? I mean, Kirk Cousins is another guy out there that I'm sure they could get as the backup quarterback, and he could come here and be a very suitable backup quarterback. The point is that Mac Jones probably goes for a mid-second round pick minimum. You need a mid-second round pick badly. So I know what they're saying, and I agree. When I saw Shanahan said, hey, the report is that he's going to be here. Of course he's going to be here, because that's what you have to tell everybody, because the Niners have Mac Jones on the books for $7 million. He's not just a good guy who fits their scheme. He fits their cap. So there's a
big bargain.
There's no reason for them to move off of him unless they get a king's ransom. They really should. They should ask for a ton.
And they did put out the right message. Let me also say, in terms of putting out right messages, I didn't see much because I had, a week on Radio Row. I didn't need a 5-hour pregame show. But I did see a little bit of Shanahan, and I did see quite a bit of Fred Warner. Both those guys got broadcasting careers waiting for them. Should either one want to go get that? I thought they both were good with the microphones. And since that is kind of our business more than even the sport of football, Larry, I thought that they were really good. I thought that they were both really good when they were up on the desk there for the Super Bowl. One last, because we'll never talk about it again if I don't give it to you right here, and then we'll get into some supers.
Yeah.
Here are the teams in NFL history to have a win, a pick six, make 5 field goals, and have 6 or more sacks in a game.
What, any game or a playoff game or a Super Bowl?
Any game in the history of the sport of professional football. It's the Seahawks in Super Bowl 60 last night. That's it. It's happened once. Once in football history.
Read that again. 5 field goals.
5 field goals. The win. A pick six, 6 sacks.
Wow.
First time that combination has ever been put together in a winning effort, and it was for the Seahawks in Super Bowl 60. No other game has ever been won the way that Seattle won, and won ugly, and won hitting the heavy bag like they did last night. And again, don't let that final score fool you. Don't let you want to win $1,000 today. Walk into any bar in America and say, which team last night had the most first downs? It was clearly Seattle, right? No, it was actually New England with all that garbage time production. New England had more first downs, passed for more yards when it was all said and done, because the Seahawks were able to relax, and Drake May, God bless him, he hit a couple of big passes after spending the first 3 quarters doing jack nothing. So there is a,
by the way, you know who was awesome last night?
There's a very deceptive box score waiting for you the minute you want to go through it. You'd be like, what happened in this game? The box score does not tell you.
If you ever didn't think this was true, to me, last night proved it. You just need players. You just need players. It ain't about anything else than that. Look how good Christian Gonzalez played. The Niners need Christian Gonzalez. JSN did nothing, partially because of injury, partially because of Christian Gonzalez. Christian Gonzalez played great. What do the Niners need? Among other things, they need their version of Christian Gonzalez, that one dominant corner that you can just say, hey, there's JSN, take him away. I mean, he did an amazing job. So to add that to the list of what the Niners need, they need that number 1 corner. All right, I'm on with the Gregs in 20. So let's hit this. We got
20 supers. Let's go.
We got 20 supers. So let's roll through it. Fukin? Is that what it says?
Fukin. 74.
Hey, there you go. Welcome aboard, Fukin.
Golf claps to all members.
We got this one. Too much sauce. Too much sauce. Fictitious scenario. Someone is holding your family hostage and you have to win an NFL football game to release them. Who do you want calling plays? Ooh.
Andy Reid.
Of all time.
That's easy.
I'd say Bill Walsh.
Oh, all time or active coaches? Yeah. By the way, I think this is him trying to say, well, it's not going to be Kyle Shanahan, therefore he should be fired. I'll tell you what, if Kyle Shanahan were the guy, I bet you my family comes home that day.
Yeah, I would say Walsh. But Reed would be a great call. Fuji, 49ers offseason to-do list is like clearing out a parent's house, a lot to do, and you wonder where to begin. Hope the new Seahawks tears down the team.
Well, again, the disease of more is the Seattle's off-season hump that they're going to have to get over, because the minute you start winning, the minute you win like that, everyone turns around and goes, I want to raise. So how they negotiate the roster is going to be interesting.
Who did they say today was going to be the new offensive? Oh, Mike Kafka, they say might be the new offensive coordinator in Seattle, which would be a great hire for them. Fuji Simi and Fred Warner seem to do well as a TV analyst.
I agree, Fuji. He was good. He was comfortable. He was concise. He made his points in under 20 seconds or less. No run-on sentences. Warner's good, man.
No doubt. He was honest, too. He said, I hate the fact they're in our locker room. Larry Martin, we beat them week 1 with our full roster. Our team is better than you're portraying, Larry. Bolster. What does it say? Bolster
the O&D line, 2 wide receivers will be good. Here's the thing. And this was, I said last
Don't
night.
delude yourself into thinking that you're competing just because you beat them in week one. They got better since week one. They had a ton of young players that have come of age. Zabel and Eman Worry, just to name two. I mean,
And all I can
don't
tell you,
delude yourself, and they barely won that game.
Week one results, week one stats, like early in the season when Ricky put up most of his stats, that doesn't mean much. All you're trying to do is get through September 4-0, but all of the stats and all of the data that comes back really doesn't tell you what's going to happen for the remainder of the year. That is the new preseason. Now that the now that the preseason has been so devalued by coaches in every single NFL city, September is you just try to get through September 2-2, 3-1, 4-0, but there is no real, and we learned X about a single player, a single team in the month of September anymore. It's just
none of that. I mean, look at your team. I mean, you've got this old team and they've got a young team. So you're saying that the last two games where they dominated your ass aren't indications of anything. But
right.
the first game months ago is an indication of how things are. I mean, that's just a fan. That's a fan. That's a fan's wish.
It's okay. It's okay to be a fan.
Fuji Simeon, I hope Jed's son, if and when he takes over the team years from now, isn't like Mark Davis in both hairstyle and his ownership style of the Raiders. Yeah, Mark Davis. I mean, come on. Mark Davis had no clout at all when his dad was alive. And now he's, it's amazing.
And it was painfully obvious to anyone who spent a fraction of time around the Raiders that Mark Davis was nowhere near Al's succession plan.
No way. He kept that kid so far away from it. I mean, it's just unbelievable, really. We got this one from, what does that say? Spazzy Mac. Jed's the problem. He won't hire a better GM and scout and even consider the updated substation. Also trade Pearsall and take a risk on Watkins and Cowing. Okay. I mean, there's definitely some ideas there for sure.
I don't think that they have the luxury to trade Ricky Pearsall. It might be a want, but I don't think they need to do that. They need to get some production out of that guy, and he better get healthy. But I even tweeted.
Well, I don't know. I mean, here's the bottom line on this thing. It's like if he plays well from here, that's one thing. But if he plays poorly from here, his value goes down quite a bit. He's actually shown some good things, and he's had some injuries. There's some people that can delude themselves into thinking that he's a big time player. If he goes one more year and he's got more of the same, his value falls off the floorboards.
I mean, he had no touchdowns.
Be able to get something good for him.
He had no touchdowns, and he wasn't able to get out there and overcome whatever the discomfort of his knee was when the Niners needed him the most. I just watched Lindsey Vaughn without an ACL try to kill herself on a hill in Italy. That's going out on your shield. Ricky, it's got to get better, and it's got to get better instantly. I saw a whole bunch of him doing like some corny ass TikTok dances. It made me angry.
Bro, go TikTok in Jacksonville. Trade his ass. I would trade him in a heartbeat. If I could get Brian Thomas, I would try to do that. I'm trying to flip him for a receiver who can actually play. Joseph Ernberg. Niners are 4-5 years away from being contenders, old and slow. Well, I hear you, but I understand where you're coming from, Ernberg, and you're probably right. But teams turn things around so fast in the NFL now, it's hard to really say. And when there's 20, every team's going to have 20 new players. I would say you might be right, but you could be wrong.
Both teams in this year's Super Bowl weren't in the playoffs last year. There you go.
D. Lowe says, was the Seahawks bowl win a win for pro personnel people? It feels like teams offer head coach candidates total roster control as sweeteners to get them in the building. Will that come to an end? That's an interesting concept. What do you think?
Larry, I just think that the job of a full-time NFL head coach is way too much of a job to have the other job that is way too much of a full-time job to put your mind elsewhere. They're two different jobs. They obviously complement each other, but GM, full-time job. head coach, full-time job. It's really hard to do two full-time jobs well at once. And I think that the NFL is littered with more it didn't work out the way you wanted than dids.
This is an interesting question. SF Niners, Kyle doesn't go to the combine. Should he start? Well, he should absolutely start if they're going to defer to him on who to draft. And he absolutely should not go if they are going to get somebody to run personnel and take him out of the equation. So yeah, this idea that he has final say on personnel and then doesn't go to the combine is probably not.
Well, here's the thing.
Idea.
Every coach should go. Like, what else you doing? What else you doing?
Well, there are coaches that believe that
you should go to the combine. That is the biggest job interview that the NFL has. You should be there to ask questions, meet guys in hallways, to shake hands, to talk to agents. It is the ultimate networking thing. It really is. Look, I would have done better on my YouTube channel having stayed at home and talked about the NBA trade deadline. Nobody likes media week content on YouTube. They really don't. They don't. But
we're talking about different things. Now we're talking about different things. But I mean, all I'll say on this is just that if you're don't have a feel for it and you're just going to screw it up, then sit it out. But also, if some of these coaches prefer to watch this thing on TV. Everything is taped. So everything is taped. Like the interviews, they're not missing technically anything. So he thinks he can get more done being at home. But yeah, I would say I don't want him there if he's not going to have say. But if he is going to have tons of say, then yeah, I would like him to glean as much as he can any way he can. Ben Diesel. How about
this? Whatever process they've leaned into that they think is so great really ain't so great. So maybe do a little something different.
Yeah. I mean, seriously, I mean, if your process is not producing results, wouldn't you change it? Ben Diesel, bring in Kirshner and whoever he wants to bring with him in the scouting department and give Lynch a PR management position. Changes are needed ASAP. I mean, I think that's reasonable, but other people might not. Fuji says, in the Mac Jones not being traded, just posturing. Oh, is it just posturing for negotiating for a better trade deal? Poor yes. Vikings fans watching Darnold while they chose McCarthy. Yes, there's no doubt that for the Niners to say, hey, look, we're not trading him. They are trading him. It's just a matter of they're trading him. They're going to ask for a lot because it's the law of supply and demand.
Right. And the Niners just basically said, bring your wallet.
Yeah. I mean, seriously. We got this one from Spazzy Mac. He says, the 49ers used to be carried by Kyle and some early on draft luck and a few good free agents. Was the team. Now the team is carried by Kyle and Purdy. This has been one of the worst drafting teams for years. What does it say? Fire Lynch. Okay. Fire Lynch. Okay. We got this one.
By the way, Larry, are your eyes okay? You're reading like Floyd Mayweather this morning.
No, you know what happens? I had my prescription changed on some of these medicines, and now I'm a little blurry. So go ahead. You read. I'll be blurry for another day or two. Go ahead. Okay, go ahead. You read them. It says this one says Eddie D.
Fired everyone today, 100%. Look at it this way. It's the wrong day to fire everyone because the NFL hiring circle is over. So, but I hear you. This is from Tyler is a wise guy. I think Jed York and his experience with Harbaugh and Trent went bad at the end because he had a couple of horrible years. I think Jed believes in Kyle and Lynch, but I think that Lynch could be on the hot seat.
Yeah, I think that's probably fair. Fuji.
When the 49ers play in Australia, due to time zone difference, Wake Up will literally be a wake-up show for viewers. Damon will do an 11 a.m. show from the picket line. Oh, well, yeah, look at, yes. What is the time difference? How is that going to go? Are they going to kick that game off at some ungodly hour in Australia to suit the TV market? Or will we be waking up at 3 a.m. to watch that game? I don't know. I don't know how
I'll
the
tell
Australian
you right now.
What time is it in
Sydney,
Australia?
Australia, it's 5:42 a.m.
It's 5:42 a.m. on
Tomorrow.
Tuesday, right? Yeah, it's
Right.
already Tuesday there. Okay.
So it's 5:45 in the morning. So it's actually they're 5 hours behind us, but tomorrow.
But a day ahead of us.
A day ahead of us.
Right.
So
That's actually workable. That's workable and doable.
Yeah, that actually is not that bad. Go ahead. You got this one?
Is our buddy Barry Ford from Memphis. Great show, gents. We'll see you as the cojones to lead the drafting. God knows we need to be competitive this fall. Also, need to solve that injury bug. Congrats to Roger Craig. And yeah, we can't say that enough. Congratulations, Roger Craig. That was awesome.
Amazing. Thank you, NFL, for putting Roger in the hall. We got this one. Who's this from? Beats and Meats.
McLuhan's available. This is from Beats and Meats. Scott McLuhan's available. Pay him $5 million and get a 6-drink per day maximum. Here's the thing. No more drinky poos. But yeah, I mean, $1 million for 3-4 months of consulting. Absolutely. He'll say yes. Why would anyone say no to that? If he doesn't want to be, the guy who's responsible, put him in the back of the room.
If you don't like his suggestions, don't listen to him.
Right.
Right? I mean,
it's time to do something other than John Lynch and Kyle have got great instincts for this. Bullshit. They don't.
Right. I mean, they just missed a lot. We got this one. What's this one?
Tyler's the wise guy. The 49ers should draft Zion Young, defensive end, Missouri, violent, explosive. He's the mean dog you want on your team. Yeah, he's good.
Yeah, I like that one a lot. I like that idea.
Lyle Bolyard. Lyle Bolyard. Last night it showed you don't really have a good offensive line to protect your quarterback in big trouble. Hope Kyle was watching last night and learned something. Yeah, ding, 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 ding. It's blocking and tackling. Everything else is for chicks who buy jerseys. Okay, it's all blocking and tackling. Football is always blocking and tackling. It's not sexy. We wouldn't tune in to watch it. We wouldn't have a country that is dependent on football as its major economic mover and cultural icon. But it's blocking and tackling. Never fool yourself. Line of scrimmage, beef. That's what matters. Everything else is candy ass, run around talented athletes, which you can find a billion of. There are a billion really fast guys. There are never more than like 20 dudes who can survive a line of NFL scrimmage. Larry, you need to be our draft scout guy. Who's with me? Again, if you put Larry in there and made me the assistant GM, we couldn't do worse. We really couldn't do worse.
I mean, we could, of course, do worse, but you know what? We also probably could do better. We also probably could do better. I mean, I'm not going to sit here. I have rolled that film back and forth, so I know what it means to be right, but I also know what it means to not do that. And so I understand. I have respect for these guys and the work that they do, but it comes down to an instinct and a feel, and not everybody's got it. And some people have a great feel and have a great instinct. Other people don't. And it's very unlikely that you're going to have three great things. You might be a great cook, or you might be a great athlete, or you might be a great scholar. But how many people are a great cook, a great athlete, and a great scholar? You know what I'm saying? It's like right. it's not. It's like, is your mechanic a great mechanic? Well, yeah, but can he also be a great hairstylist? Well, maybe not. It's like they're different skill sets, and being a great play caller sequencer is a different skill set than saying those guys are all 6'5", 280. Tell me which guy's a mailman, which guy's a starter, which guy's a CFL guy, which guy's a Pro Bowler. You know what I mean? So it's a different skill set. I'm not sure if Kyle has it. All right, that's going to do it for us. Thanks
Hawaii. Is that it? Are we all through? Were we through all 20?
I think, yeah. Let me see. Unless we got this one. Yeah, we got that one. Once again, thanks to Habbas Law. 1-800-INJURED. They will fight to make it right. HabbasLaw.com on the web. Basically, in life, you're gonna if you need a good lawyer, you need a good lawyer. If you've been injured and you want to win, there's only one call to make, and that's 1-800-INJURED. HabbasLaw.com on the web. They will fight to make it right. Thanks to Habbas Law for being a proud sponsor of the Krug Show. We really appreciate Habbas Law. Also, thanks to our good friends at Sleeper. Thanks to Sleeper. Sleeper's been great all year long for the Krug Show and for the Plus. So thanks to Sleeper. 49er football season all season long has been presented by Sleeper. The link's in the description. use promo code Larry. They'll match your first deposit up to $100. Links in the description. Terms and conditions do apply. Thanks to Sleeper. Thanks to Pig and a Pickle as well for being the title sponsor of the Crude Show. Check them out. They're in Emeryville. They're in Corte Madera. They're open 7 days a week from 11 a.m. till 8 p.m. or until they run out, and they'll be opening later this year.
Last one here, Larry. This is from a 49er fam. 3-team trade. Vikings get Mac. Jaguars get the Vikings second rounder this year. 49ers fourth this year. And the 49ers get Brian Thomas Jr. in next year's third. I'd
probably do that. I mean, I like Brian Thomas. I think he's really, really good. I think so the Niners are basically moving what? They're moving Mac and the 49ers fourth round pick.
Here's the thing. I want Brian Thomas Jr. and this year's third. You know what I mean? Like right. They need help now. No, I don't want to put it too far down the road. If you want to do a connection of a second rounder, a sixth rounder, and then next year, a fourth rounder, then we can talk about that.
Yeah, no, I agree. I want most of my draft capital this year, if possible. Anyway,
let me say this, Larry. You one of those like you don't know until you're in the same room. Were you on Media Row when Trevor Lawrence walked by?
No.
Holy shit. He is so much bigger than you think he is. He is one of the all-time. You got to be kidding me. That guy's a quarterback. Trevor Lawrence,
he's
fucking 6'6". Huge.
He had a great second half of the year. We'll see if he's primed for a bust up.
Larry, real quick, we're going to wrap up with this. Your look-ahead lines. Your Super Bowl favorites to Super Bowl 61. Seattle, the favorite, 8-1. Buffalo Bills, 9-1. Rams, 10-1. So the top three teams to be next year's Super Bowl favorite are once again sitting in the 49ers division.
Where are the Niners?
The Niners are going off at 16-1, all by themselves. They're the only team getting 16-1. You've got the Packers, Chargers, Chiefs, Patriots, Eagles, all going off 14-1. So good luck. And thanks for watching. Goodbye, 2025 NFL season. 2026 is why you need to like and subscribe.